I'm just leaving Narsdale. This is the Narsdale to as far along the Roman wall as I can get, really. Ros dropped me here, just dropped me off here. This is where I reached 2 days ago. We've moved the caravan up to Barden Mill and starting the walking again. It's a bit strange coming here 3 days after you were dropped off to continue the same walk. Been going for about half an hour now. Taking a jumper off, had a rain shower. Thought, shall I put a coat on? No, it stopped showering now. But just behind me, if you look at the path I just walked along, my memory of 1967 was that most of the Pennine Way was like that bit behind me. So they're fairly indistinct paths, and every time there's a stream there's very deep peat and mud and bog by it. So there's very little difference between that path and a sheep trod when you get up on the tops. So we were forever following sheep trods rather than the path itself. So it is a lot easier now. It's stoned up on the top, or slabbed on the top. But this is what most of it used to be like in my memory, which is quite old now, obviously. Right, we just got over the first hillside, crossing over a stream. That road there is the road from Alston, and you see it comes around a big curve. It's contoured around the hillside that I've just walked over the top of. And in '67, if you remember, I was suffering with heat exhaustion, or the aftermaths, and I think somewhere out here we decided it just wasn't worth trying to flog up these hills because I felt so bad. I could hardly put one foot in front of the other, so we ploughed along that road, and as soon as the opportunity arose we turned off to Holtwhistle and cut the corner off the Pennine Way. I suppose you could call it cheating really, but I was so ill I wasn't really bothered. We got to Once Brood at about 6 o'clock that evening, and we were just grateful to be there. The reason we were in a bit of a rush anyway, apart from feeling terribly ill, was that on the way down from Cross Fell we'd calculated the number of days left, and whilst I was at school and had another 4 weeks, Ian, who I was with, was a police cadet, and we realised he'd got to be back at work in about 5 days' time. So unless we put a move on and gained a day somewhere, we were going to not be able to finish. The real problem was that the time we wanted to gain a day was the time when I felt ill, and the only way we felt we could do it was for cutting off this corner through Holtwhistle. It didn't bother me at all at the time. But I'm going to do it properly this time, if only to say I have. I think this is Maiden Way that I'm walking down now. Most of the Roman roads that I've mentioned have all been across the Pennines. This one's going north-south. The fact it ends up on the wall is probably something to do with that, and the fact it goes past Whitley Castle with its lead mining. But on the far side of the fence on the left hand side there's still a ditch that may well originate with the Roman road. I think it's probably been deepened, but you can see the sort of raised surface that goes down just there. the Agger. Slightly domed surface with a ditch at each side. So I would say that's pretty clear just there. Ditch on the far side of the fence on the left hand side, the raised road surface, and a ditch on the other side as well. I'm just about to go on Blenkinsop Common. I've just been warned the paths aren't very clear up there, but making reasonable time, I think. It's 10 past 11. Well, reasonable time for me anyway. I've been overtaken by a number of spine race people. Two little calves, and I'm not meant to come between the parents and the calves. Mum's not looking too impressed. Gradually making my way down into Greenhead by a fairly circuitous route. We've left Blenkinsop Common. I've worked my way down the almost to the Roman wall now, and this is the A69 connecting Carlisle with Newcastle. I don't know how you get across. Might be a run for your life job. Well, it was indeed a run for your life job, and you had to be pretty smartish about it as well, because it's on the brow of the hill and your vision isn't that brilliant. So certainly by the time I got to the far side, the ones which weren't in sight down the bottom were crossing behind me. Okay, we're going to cross these fields towards the wall now, and I think we cross the Vallum first, and I'll talk about that when we get there. I'm on, I think it's Holtwhistle golf course. I've been walking on the Vallum, so I'm standing on the top of one of the embankments. Down in the bottom there's the ditch, and there may be another embankment on the other side, but certainly it's a series of an embankment and a ditch. Now the wall is just over there by the tree, I think it is, in the single tree in the field, but there's Thirlwall Castle there. So the Vallum, there are numerous explanations as to what it is. The best one, or the one I like best, is that it was a demarcation of a military zone. So the wall was obviously the front of the military zone, and it's a possibility that the Vallum marked the back of the defensive zone, and it was probable that only military people were allowed inside, or goods for military people, because this ditch was bridged at only a few points. So if you wanted to get inside this zone with a cart of goods, for example, you had to cross at a recognised crossing place. You couldn't just get across it. So it may have limited access to the military zone. I think we'll probably see a bit more of it later. Okay, I've just come past Thirlmere Castle, which, although it's not Roman, is built probably entirely of Roman stone, as are many of the villages around here. So this is the Vallum again, I think. So the wall is to the left, The civilian area is to the right, and between the wall and here, which again is to the left of where I'm standing, that's probably the military area. It's a huge amount of work for what seems not very much purpose to me, because it's a large feature now. It must have been a huge feature in the day. Okay, I've just come down from up there, and that's where the vallum is. Behind these trees is the Roman Army Museum, which is well worth a visit if you're up here. And on the far side of the Roman Army Museum there's the fort of Magna, or Magnus. It's called Caravan now, Cavoran now. And the interesting thing about the fort of Magnus is that it's outside the area demarcated by the vallum and the wall. So the vallum is actually passing in front of the fort. Now we don't know why that is, but it's obviously fairly interesting as to why it happened. But also the Roman Army Museum and the fort of Magna is owned by the Vindelander Trust, and they want to excavate it because the field it's in is drying out, and they're concerned that some of the organic remains may well start rotting if it dries out too much and the anaerobic conditions disappear. So they're trying to raise money to excavate the fort of Magna here, as well as Vindelander, which is about 5 or 6 miles further on. Okay, this is Walltown Crags I'm at now. I'm going to have a break here. So I'm just above Walltown Crags, first sight of the Roman wall. It's quite impressive here. It's over 6 feet, a couple of metres high. But my guess is it's largely reconstructed or consolidated, whatever you like to call it. On the eastern sides of Walltown Crags is turret 44B, which is also known as King Arthur's turret, in a very impressive location. I've just come over Walltown Crags. You can see the line of the wall going over the escarpments up there. The reason these escarpments are here, it's exactly the same sill that caused the escarpments at High Cup Nick, the cliffs around the top of High Cup Nick, and High Force and Low Force. So it's all the same sill, all the same material. Just down there in the bottom of the valley, you can just see part of the vallum. It's the fort of Essica, or Great Chesters, not to be confused with any other Chesters. I'm looking along the north wall there, which makes this one the east wall with a ditch on this side of it. And it looks like there was a turret on the corner, somewhere on the corner. And this starts much later, and I'm just rubbish at archaeology, which is entirely probable. Okay, I'm past Essica, the fort, coming up to Caulfield's quarry. Roz was picking me up there, so that was a wettish day from near Slaggyford to Caulfield's quarry for an old man on the Pennine Way. Thanks for watching, and see you again. Bye.